You slept with a taxi driver for a ride. I stood in the middle of my kitchen, clutching Lisa's phone, my best friend, feeling the ground slip from under me. The screen flashed with a message from some driver, "Free ride if you stay with me for an hour." My hands trembled, my throat tightened as if someone had punched me in the chest. Lisa, whom I considered a sister, with whom I shared everything from secrets to coffee, stared at me, pale as a ghost. Her eyes darted, her lips quivered, but she didn't utter a word. Suddenly, she snatched the phone and bolted out of my apartment, leaving me in shock. What was that? How could she offer herself for a taxi ride? And why hadn't I noticed anything? This wasn't just a blow, it felt like someone had crushed my trust. Lisa was my rock. We laughed until we cried, survived first heartbreaks together, even had a running joke about living on dreams. But this, trading herself for a taxi? My head buzzed. Was she always like this? Or had I invented a perfect friend? I couldn't just cry. I needed the truth. I decided to dig in, gather evidence, and find out how far this lie went. I recalled how Lisa had been glued to her taxi app lately, though she claimed she was saving money. She always got home for free or pennies. Something didn't add up. I opened her Instagram and scrolled through her stories. In private posts, she shared selfies from taxis, captioned, "My hero red heart hash." In the photos, a smiling driver gripping the wheel. My shock mixed with anger. It was the same driver, Artem. I knew this was just the beginning. My first step was to check her taxi app. I knew she used the same password for everything. Logging into her account via our shared laptop, I saw her ride history. Every trip, with Artem. And no payments. My stomach churned. I called the taxi services support, posing as Lisa's friend, and asked about her rides. The operator hesitated. She always deals directly with the driver. That was my first piece of evidence. I was ready to unravel this web of lies. My friend pays for taxis with her body. I couldn't believe Lisa, my childhood friend, could sink so low. We were inseparable. We partied until dawn, shared dreams, even had a shared playlist. But now I saw her messages with Artem, offering services for free rides. It wasn't just shock, it felt like someone ripped out my heart. How could I miss this? Lisa always seemed proud, someone who'd never compromise her principles. But what if I was blind? What if she always hid this side? The betrayal burned like a knife in my back. I doubted everything, our friendship, myself, whether I even knew her. Worst of all, I couldn't just forget. I needed to know why she was doing this and for how long. It wasn't curiosity, it was a need to regain control. I decided to investigate. No yelling, no accusing without proof, just gathering facts. Was this a one-time lapse, or had she chosen this path deliberately? I started with the small things I'd ignored. For instance, she bragged about cheap taxi rides, despite earning pennies at a call center. Her stories about friendly drivers sounded suspicious. I opened her Instagram and analyzed it. In her stories, she often posted taxi selfies, posing in the back seat. One post caught my eye. She sat next to Artem, captioned, "Thanks for the quick ride." Face throwing a kiss. It wasn't just a thank you, it was a hint. I remembered how she avoided money talk. When I offered to cover her taxi, she'd refuse. "I'll manage." Now I understood how. My next step was her taxi app. Logging in, I saw all her rides were with Artem. No card or cash payments. I called the taxi service, posing as a friend, and learned Lisa negotiates with the driver. That fueled my curiosity. I remembered our shared Google account and checked her calendar. If she was hiding something big, there'd be traces. What I found made me brace for the worst. She rode with him every night. I recalled details I'd overlooked. Lisa always raved about how convenient taxis were, despite complaining about money woes. But her rides were always free, and she never explained how. So, I checked her Google Calendar via our shared account. There, I found entries, every evening, 8 p.m. to 10 p.m., taxi Artem. No details, just the time and the word hotel. It felt like an alarm bell. I remembered how Lisa became busy in the evenings, dodging our hangouts, saying she needed to get home. I dug deeper. In her Instagram stories, I found a clue, a photo with Artem, her posing in the taxi while he grinned in the rearview mirror. Caption: Best driver. Face with stuck-out tongue and winking eye. The innuendos made me sick. I called the taxi service again, posing as a customer. The operator confirmed Lisa was Artem's regular, but he handles her himself. The word handles rang like a siren. I monitored her stories closely. One evening, she accidentally posted a video showing a hotel on the city's outskirts. I knew that area, nothing but cheap hotels for quick stays. My anger grew, but I kept cool. I needed facts, not assumptions. I checked her Gmail via our shared account. There were emails from the taxi service confirming rides, but no payment receipts. Instead, I found a Telegram message from Artem she'd forwarded to herself. Tonight at 9 o'clock, same hotel. I realized she wasn't paying with money. My brain boiled. I couldn't believe Lisa, who seemed so independent, could act this way. But I didn't stop. I noted every suspicious date from her calendar and decided to visit the hotel the next evening. If she was there with Artem, I'd see it myself. I was ready for the worst but didn't imagine how deep she'd sunk. I caught them at the hotel. I waited until evening and drove to the hotel on the outskirts. In the parking lot was Artem's car, and next to it Lisa, whom he hugged like a girlfriend. But I didn't rush in screaming. I needed undeniable proof. So, I photographed them from my car, hidden behind tinted windows. Lisa looked relaxed, even happy. She laughed, fixing her hair, while Artem held her waist. It didn't look like a business deal. I was shaking with rage, but I knew emotions wouldn't help. I went home and analyzed the photos. In the background was the hotel's number, the same one from her stories. The next day, Lisa came over, complaining that Artem was demanding more time for rides. She seemed confused, like she didn't grasp what she'd gotten into. I played along. I can pay for your taxi, no problem. She blushed and changed the subject. Another clue, she knew I could expose her. I remembered Lisa often left her phone unattended. Once, she forgot it at my place, and I saw a notification. Tonight at 8 o'clock, hotel on the Ring Road. I snapped a picture of the screen and returned the phone without a word. But now I knew this wasn't a one-off deal. It was her lifestyle. I needed more. I contacted a tech-savvy friend and asked for help accessing her Telegram. I knew it wasn't entirely ethical, but Lisa had lost my sympathy. I wanted the full truth, no matter how dirty. What I found made me completely rethink her. She sent him explicit photos. Through my friend, I accessed Lisa's Telegram chats. It was all there, explicit photos she sent Artem, and his replies, "This covers a ride downtown." But I also found her chats with another driver, offering the same for an airport trip. So, I realized this wasn't a lapse. Lisa was deliberately trading herself. I sat at the screen, scrolling through messages, feeling our friendship crumble. It wasn't one mistake, it was a system. She planned these meetings, negotiated, bargained. Her messages showed no shame, just cold calculation. "How much for a ride to the mall?" she wrote to another driver. His reply, "You know my price." I screenshotted everything. Every message, every photo, anything that could prove who she'd become. But I didn't rush to confront her. I needed a plan to not just humiliate her but make her face consequences. I remembered how she prided herself on her lifestyle blogger reputation. Her Instagram was her pride, thousands of followers who saw her as inspiration. I decided to use that against her. But first, I checked another lead. In her Google Calendar, I found an entry for a meeting with another driver at a different hotel. I called the taxi service, posing as a customer, and learned Lisa regularly rides with multiple drivers but never pays. That was the final straw. I was ready to act. I gathered all the evidence. I compiled a folder of evidence, chat screenshots, hotel photos, call recordings with the taxi service. But I knew showing it to Lisa wouldn't be enough. She'd twist it, blame me, or make excuses. So, I decided to hit where it hurt most, her reputation. I anonymously created a Telegram account and sent the evidence to the taxi service's chat where Artem worked. I also shared screenshots with bloggers who collaborated with Lisa. I didn't want it to look like personal revenge, I wanted the truth to do the work. Lisa started suspecting I knew something. She texted, "You're not mad I ran out that day?" I was just in shock. I replied calmly, "It's fine." But inside, I was seething. She thought she could manipulate me like everyone else. I decided to wait for my actions to take effect. Meanwhile, I watched her stories. She posted about a fresh start and honest life. It was laughable and disgusting. I knew her honest life would soon collapse. My evidence was spreading, and I waited for the explosion. Her secret was exposed. The evidence worked. The taxi services chat erupted in scandal. Artem was fired because the company wouldn't tolerate such deals. But Lisa didn't yet know her Instagram was under fire. So, I sent screenshots to her active followers. The scandal exploded within hours. Her stories were flooded with comments. "Is it true you pay for taxes with yourself?" Lisa started deleting posts, but it was too late. She was banned from several taxi services, and brands she worked with dropped her. She texted me in a panic, "Someone's spreading lies. Help." I replied coldly, "Maybe you should be more honest." She stopped texting. I knew she suspected my involvement but couldn't prove it. My revenge wasn't about yelling, I wanted her to lose everything she'd built. She lost everything. Lisa tried to save her reputation, posting tearful stories about slander. But the truth was stronger than her lies. So, her followers turned away, and taxi services refused to work with her. She was left without without a reputation or friends. I felt no pity. She chose this path, and I just showed the world who she was. My transformation was complete. I was no longer the naive friend who believed in sisterly love. I became stronger, ready to protect myself. I'm no longer a victim. I stopped being the one who cries over betrayal. Every piece of evidence I gathered made me stronger. Lisa thought she could manipulate everyone, but I showed her she was wrong. I acted strategically, without hysterics, like a hunter. My friendship with Lisa taught me, trust isn't blind faith. It's respect that must be earned. I'll never again let anyone make me feel foolish. I learned to see the truth, even when it hides behind smiles. She paid for her lies. Lisa lost everything, her reputation, followers, even taxi access. Artem lost his job, and her name became synonymous with scandal. She tried to blame me, but I just said, "You chose to pay that way." I felt no guilt. I felt freedom. My revenge was about justice. I learned to protect myself and will never let anyone betray me again. And Lisa, she got what she deserved.